Live from Newcomb's Ranch, it's TennisCon 2, and we've got our campers here. Everybody say, hey, Gigi.
Hey, Gigi.
Hi, everybody.
I thought you were going to say live from New York.
Live from New York. It's Saturday Night TennisCon. So we're all excited that we got Gigi Fernandez on tonight's call. One of the greatest doubles players of all time, 17 Grand Slam champions. She won all of them, too. 6 French Opens. What do you think about that? Yeah. Wow. So we're all excited to have you on, Gigi. I just want some of our campers to say hello to you, and then we're gonna get going. We're gonna get deep into the doubles with you tonight, okay?
Hello, campers.
They're gonna go eat hummus and drink alcoholic beverages. Soda pops.
Oh, that sounds way more fun.
They got to be ready to battle tomorrow. Okay, I'm gonna.
Bye, Gigi.
Bye.
Okay, I'm gonna put in the headset so we can hear each other better.
All right, cool. Can you hear me pretty good, Gigi?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. Well, that was exciting for everybody, and everybody tuning in, watching. This is going to be a lot of fun. It's the kickoff of TennisCon 2, and Gigi was nice enough to join us tonight, and we're going to be able to learn about her life on tour and also her doubles philosophies, and you guys will be able to ask her questions. So let's dive right into it. And I want to ask you the first question, Gigi, is we all want to know what got you into tennis? How old were you? What was it like the first time you picked up a racket? Tell us all about that.
Yeah, so I had 2 older brothers who used to beat me up on the court, and all I wanted to do was be as good as them. And I used to hit against the wall when I was 3 years old because I was too little to go on the big court. Back then we didn't have little rackets and we had the big rackets. So that was it. I fortunately had, God-given hand-eye coordination. So I was pretty good right away. I always asked for lessons when I was 4, 5, 6. I never got them until I was 7. Finally got lessons when I was 7. And then played my first match when I was 8 and I lost 6-0, 6-0. So I had a really bad start, but I got better from there.
Wow, that's cool. So that's amazing, though. I mean, 3 years old and you're already hit against the wall. And I mean, was this a family sport that your parents were into? Is that how it started?
Yeah, we belonged to the racket club in Puerto Rico, and we just used to go there after school on the weekends, and there was a pool, and it was like a social club. And I would just play tennis. That's what we did. We just kind of played tennis in the afternoons and on the weekends. So it was a fun time.
Very cool. And I know you do camps now with your sister, correct?
Correct. My sister and I we work together at my company. I travel around the country doing camps and clinics, and she organizes everything and does everything for me. And also we bring people here to Tampa. And when my sister's now 5-0, so she's also certified in the Gigi method. So when campers come here, the 2 of us put them through the drills.
That's fantastic. So guys, make sure you hang on to the end of this call because we're going to give you 30 days of free training from Gigi. That's pretty generous. And I looked at everything that's included with that, and it's just a tremendous value, 100% free. So Gigi is really giving back to the game, especially with the adult players who go out there and really, really want to improve their game. And it's nice to see more people paying attention to that side of tennis, where I think for too long it was just like, oh, well, just have the adults go out there and hit and have fun, and let's work on the junior development.
The juniors, right? Yeah.
But
that was a big gripe of mine when I started teaching that everything was so high performance dominated. And when you go to conferences in our industry, USPTA, PTR, USTA, the conferences are I'd say 80% focused towards developing the next champion, 15% towards the mental game, and then like 1% was focused on doubles, which when we think about it, all adults, what they do is play doubles. We all end up playing doubles at some point in our lives. So I think we do a disservice to our juniors by not teaching them how to play doubles early on. And also we do a disservice to our teaching community by not really properly train them to teach doubles to the adults. So that's why I became so vocal about it, and why I'm doing my part to share my knowledge.
Yeah, that's great. You're doing a great job. I just had, I think, 3 of my online students actually spent a week with you, or is it, how long was that?
The Tampa camps are 2.5 days. We get about 10 hours in 2.5 days. I go through all the steps of the Gigi method: positioning, court coverage, serve, return, shot selection, and it's all centered around competition. So I do classroom presentations in a room, and then we go work on the drills that the stuff that we're learning. So we do that over 3 days, and they improve a lot. What I tell people about, what's cool about how I teach is that you don't have to get better at doubles to improve. Like, you don't have to improve your forehand or your backhand or your serve or your returns, because improving technique, as you know, takes a lot of time. It's hours and hours of repetition. But if you could just learn how to understand doubles better, where to stand, where to position yourself, what shot to cover, what shot to try to hit, how to hide your weaknesses, how to identify opponents' weaknesses, how to attack them. So there's so many things you can do to become a better doubles player. That doesn't mean spending hours and hours and hours on the court improving strokes.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to dive into all of the instruction we're going to go through tonight. I do want to kind of talk a little bit about the tour, but before we do that, I don't want to ignore all our people online. We have now 223 people watching.
Woo-hoo!
We have Paul, who just said hi, Pete. Laura Wagner says hi from Denver. Scott Levy, who came in, I'm sure Scott, he loves to take online instruction and visit people in person. Scott and Sharon are saying hello. We have a lot of people right now flying in saying hello to you from all over the place.
Cool. So, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, this is great.
Start coming in.
This is fantastic. Hi from Boca says top teen tennis. So just awesome stuff going on. So let's talk about. I'm always curious to know because when I grew up, I was a pretty good junior. I was a state champion. I got nationally ranked, and but at some point, I realized I wasn't good enough to become a pro. At what point in your life did you realize? I know. At what point did you realize you weren't good enough to become a professional?
Well, actually, it was very late in my life. I grew up in Puerto Rico, where there was no competition at all. When I was number one in my age group and two age groups above. So at 12, I was number one in 12, 14, and 16s, and then at 14, 16, 17. So, but because the Puerto Rico Tennis Association was part of the United States Tennis Association, I would come to the United States to play nationals. And fortunately for me, some coaches saw me play and recruited me to go to college. So when I went to college was the first time in my life that I really thought I had a chance maybe someday to be a pro. And it was actually after that, because again, at this point, I was probably ranked, maybe top 75 in singles in the country. I was not highly recruited. I only had like 2 scholarship offers. But I did play number 2 on my team, which was Clemson, and I made the finals of the NCAA as a freshman. And I lost to Beth Herr, who at that time was ranked 27th in the world. And I think the moment that I realized that I had a chance maybe to play on tour was a couple months later. I saw her playing Billie Jean King in the round of 16 at Wimbledon on center court. And I'm, kind of flicking through the channels, and I'm like, wait a second, that's the girl that I almost beat. 7-6 in the third. So that's kind of when I first had a clue. I started playing that summer. I started playing challengers and satellites, and got a ranking, and my ranking steadily went up. I took the fall off. And then back then, if you remember, the Australian Open used to be in November on grass, which was my best surface. So I played that fall of tournament ending with the Australian Open. And after that swing, I was ranked 85 in the world. So at that time, it was time to turn pro.
No turning back.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. I mean, how exciting was that for you to realize that, oh my gosh, I'm actually as good as the pros are? Like,
I don't think I ever had that moment, that of thinking that I'm actually as good as the pros. Like, I never really thought it in those terms. You kind of playing, and at some point you realize that you belong. And, I think probably when I won my first Grand Slam that I thought I was pretty hot, but until then you're kind of struggling like everybody else. I mean, it is pretty much of a struggle until you get to that top, and not a lot of people do, but it's not easy to get there. But once you get there, it's, you do whatever you can to stay up there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's fantastic. So you're playing singles and you're playing doubles. What was it like to play with Martina Navratilova?
That changed my life. Martina asked me to play with her very early in my career. She her main doubles partner was Pam Shriver. She had shoulder surgery, and she needed a partner, and she picked me. And I was like, oh my God, out of all the players in the world, Martina thinks that I'm the next best option for her. So that kind of changed what I thought of myself and my ability. And we ended up winning. I had won one Grand Slam at that point, but there was no sign that I would have the career that I ended up having. So just to know that Martina Navratilova, the best women's player of all time at that point, felt that I was good enough to play with her, just totally, my confidence just went skyrocketing. And from then on, the rest is history.
Yeah. I mean, certainly she's one of the best players, singles or doubles, which not a lot of people can do that, have such amazing careers where they're literally the best singles and doubles player. But what made her so special on the doubles court?
Well, what made Martina special was her strength. I mean, she was just so strong and hit the ball so much harder than anybody else. She was the first player to really delve into the fitness part of the game and eating right, and she traveled with the trainer. She was the first person to do that. But when she hit her volleys, it was like they hit the brick wall. I mean, it just came so fast, and I think at that time that was it. It was her domination was physical purely. I mean, I don't think she was the most mentally tough player, compared to, for example, Chris Evert, who was definitely more mentally tough than she was. But I mean, I'm not saying that Martina was not mentally tough, but I'm saying that was not what set her apart. I think what set her apart was her physical strength.
Interesting. And so was there anything specifically she taught you about doubles to where you thought, oh, this is, this is interesting that she's saying this to me?
No, actually, in fact, I may get in trouble for saying this. Can you hear me? Yep.
Yeah, I can hear you. We just lost you for a second.
Yeah. So I was just saying that, in fact, I may get in trouble for saying this, but I did not enjoy or particularly think that Martina and I were a good team. It could be because she was left-handed. I had a really hard time with her shot selection. I felt like she would hit shots that would put me in a bad position. I didn't feel like she was playing for her partner. I'm very into playing for your partner, and you always want to set up your partner to finish points for you. And with her, I don't know whether it was because she was Martina and she just was better than everybody and she just wanted to end the points. But a lot of times I felt the team was compromised and I just didn't like it. And also there was, when you play with somebody like that, if you win, it's because you're playing with Martina. And if you lose, it's your fault. So It was a lot of pressure and I didn't like it.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's a good point. And so that kind of springs me in another direction, because I think that is so important is that be a good doubles team is almost harder, I think, than to be a good singles team, because, you can hit a great shot, but then your partner's got to hit a great shot. You guys got to be playing well at the same time.
Right.
So what makes a good doubles team? What do you feel comfortable with? When you found your partners?
Well, I am a believer in the saying that opposites attract. So you want to find somebody who complements your game or complements your weaknesses. So if you have a good forehand, you want somebody with a good backhand. If you have a good server, you want a good returner. If you have somebody with good volleys, you want somebody with good returns. If you have a setter, you want a finisher. If you're a setter, you want a finisher, and so forth. So you try to find somebody that has different strengths than you. You want them to have not the same strength, because then you're not a good team. You want the situation where the parts come together are better than the whole is better than the sum of the parts. Or did I say that backwards? The sum is better than the whole, whatever that saying is. You know what I mean? So when two players come together, they're better than they are individually. And that's what I had with Natasha Zvereva, who was my main partner for many years.
Yeah, this is great. We still have tons of people coming in. We got Larry from Cumming, Georgia, which I'm from Georgia. He's saying hello. Rick Willett. We got Ron Patterson from Toronto saying hello. So that's really interesting. So Gigi, you said you want to have opposites attract. So what were you bringing to the table? I mean, I watch you play. I know what you're bringing to the table, but for everybody, maybe some of you haven't watched you. What did you bring to the table when you played doubles?
So I was very solid all around. I didn't really have a huge strength, but I didn't have any weakness. I think my strengths were my volleys. I would go entire matches, sometimes entire tournaments, and not miss a volley. And I don't say that just to say, like, I truly would play a whole match, and if I miss one volley, I would be mad at myself. And I'm talking about makeable volleys, you know, and for us, you know, almost every volley, if you can put your racket to it, we think it's makeable. So that's probably my hand-eye coordination, what set me apart. Also, I was very intimidating. I was very passionate on the court, and I could get into my opponent's head. I was kind of accused of playing mind games throughout my career. So maybe to a fault, you know, I think maybe now that I'm older and I look back, maybe to a fault that I maybe stressed it a little bit too much. But, you know, I'm hyper competitive. I hate to lose in anything, even to this day. And, you know, and sometimes you have that win at all cost mentality as a professional that, like, looking back, I wish I didn't have, but I also know that it made me the player that I was. So I'm
Gigi,
constantly struggling with that constantly.
I loved watching you play. I love that kind of attitude. I think that's great. Yeah, very cool. So let's get into a little bit of now helping amateur players like us. So you have this acronym called the PEST formula to win doubles. So how did you come about naming that, and why do you base?
How'd that come about? Okay, so how that came about is when I started coaching recreational players when I was the director of tennis at a club in in Connecticut. And I was at first, as a director of tennis, not spending that much time on the court. But then I sort of transitioned out of that because I wanted to spend more time on the court. And basically from observation, I came to realize that recreational players make four types of errors. Now, when you watch professionals play, normally when the point is going to end on either a forced error, normally a lot of forced errors. Once in a while they'll make it on forced error, but it's usually an execution error. But what I've noticed with recreational players is that they make four different kinds of errors. They make positioning errors, and that's the P in PEST. So many times they're standing in the wrong place. It's a kind of a joke. Like, they're really not understanding where you should be standing on the court. Then there's execution errors, means you missed, and we all miss, and we can't control execution. Some days you play good, some days you play bad. Then there's shot selection errors, the shots that players attempt. That I would ask my ladies when they try a shot, I'm like, did you just try to hit a drop shot from like 3 feet behind the baseline? They're like, yeah, why not? Or a high backhand angle volley. I'm like, I wouldn't even try that shot. So this is not high percentage shot selection. And then finally, tactics is really not understanding how to beat an opponent, how to tactically attack weaknesses, and how to tactically play against an opponent to beat them. So of those four, I feel that, or I know that the only one that you cannot control is execution, but you can control your position in your shot selection and your tactics. So that's what I teach when I do my clinics and my camps. I really focus on getting players to truly understand where they should be standing, what they should be covering, and what is high percentage shot selection, what is not so high percentage, and what is low percentage. And then, of course, understanding tactics and understanding what works against different kinds of players.
That's very cool. That's very cool. And I think you're right. I mean, and I'm even guilty of this in my own game. Typically, when we miss shots, the first thing we do is we look at our hand and we look at the racket, and we're always thinking about the technical part of why we lost the point, where lots of times we were forced to take a shot that we really shouldn't have taken, or we're out of position because of that. And so it really wasn't the execution part. It was all the things happening before the execution.
Right. The shot selection before, or you tried the wrong shot, or you hit a lob and didn't follow it in, or you covered your alley instead of covering the middle. Like, it's so many things that. So I tell players always, when the point is over, to look to see where they were standing, and where were you standing when that point ended, and see if you were in the right place or the wrong place. And so many times we're in the wrong place, and it's so easy to correct.
Yeah. So as you coach these players and a lot of people online tonight. It'd be good, guys. Could you comment? Now we have 308 people watching, Gigi. This is pretty awesome for a live stream. So if you guys could comment your level below, are you a 3.0, a 3.5, 4.0, 4.5? If you're from another country and you don't really have those ratings, would you call yourself a beginner, an intermediate, advanced player? Comment in the section below. We'd really love to know. But I know a lot of people watching Tennis Con are between that 3.5, 4.0, even up to 4.5 level, and certainly a lot of 3.0s too. So in general, for tennis players over 50, is there certain positions that you want to constantly find yourself on the court? Is it the one up, one back? Is it two people getting to the net? You know, and if it is two people getting to the net, how can we get there successfully without getting lobbed all the time?
Okay, so so first of all, that was a lot of questions. So
I know.
That was a lot of questions at once. So I'll take the first one first. The best position in doubles, statistically speaking, is two players at the net against one up, one back on the other side. I call that the holy grail. And this is statistics from every level at all over the, not just tour players, but at any level. Anytime there's two players in the net, one up, one back on the other side, the two in the net are going to win the majority of those points. Because while you're in the best position in doubles on two up, the one up, one back are in the worst position in doubles. So if you've ever, and I call that the highway to hell. If you've ever been the sole baseliner against two people at the net with your partner, there's a lot of pressure. If you don't hit the ball low, your partner's going to get killed. A lot of times people will just throw up a lob because they don't know what to do with the ball. So I encourage players whenever possible to get to that position. But I have two rules that I want players to follow when they come into the net. So some coaches make the mistake of over telling or over coaching their players to come to the net. It's like, you got to get to the net. You got to get to the net. You got to get to the net, but you got to get to the net smartly. And you never want to strand your partner at the baseline. You never want to run to the net in a drill or in a match and leave your partner back there, because now you've put yourself in the worst position in doubles, right? So if you're going to come into the net, assuming your partner's already there, then the two rules to follow are, the first one is you want to make sure you get to at least the service line for your first volley. So if you're not getting to the service line, you're going to have a really hard time hitting your first volley. There's two ways to achieve that. You're either inside the court, move up to the ball to hit your approach shot. Don't wait for the ball to come to you. So if you're 3 feet inside the court, then you only have another 6 or 7 feet to get to the service line. And then the second way to achieve that is to hit a high slow ball. I call that a sneak attack. So you kind of sneak into the net with a high slow ball that the net person can't reach. Because it's slow, it gives you plenty of time to get there. And then the other one, to me, is even more important that people don't talk about, is that you want your opponent in the singles court. You want your opponent hitting your ball from the singles court when you come in, because sometimes people get stuck hitting really cross court into the alley or past the alley, and they think that's a good thing. But when you do that, your partner has to shift, and you're leaving the whole middle of the court open, and you're giving yourself a really tough first volley. And also remember that the wider you hit the ball, the wider it's going to come back. So you just gave, unless you hit a winner on that cross court angle coming in, the next shot you're going to get is going to be really hard. So I actually encourage players, or tell players, that they want to be playing doubles, keeping their opponent in the singles court. So hit into the singles court as much as possible.
I really like that. And because I think what we're always looking for is we've got that extra space. We've got the alley, and it feels so good to hit that alley. It's like almost, being at a blackjack table and you keep hitting that, I want another card, because you want to make that so bad. And it kind of goes back to that whole idea of
Wait, can I just interrupt you right there?
Yeah.
Because that is one of the biggest problems with tennis players, trying to hit the ball into the alley. So,
yes.
I tell, because not only is it hard to make for you and I, but for 3.0s, 3.5s, 4.0s, it's a really, really almost impossible shot to make, so I tell people, like, why are you covering the shot that no one can make?
Yeah.
So and every time I ask players, 3.0, 3.5s, 4.0s, if I stood you on the baseline and fed you 10 balls, how many would you hit inside the alley? And the answer is usually 1 or 2, which sometimes I doubt, but I let them go with 1 or 2. So then I tell them, well, why are you covering the shot that you're going to make 1 out of 10 times? So leave the alley obsession. Like, forget the alley even exists. Don't cover it. Don't hit into it. Pretend it's not even there, and play doubles from the singles court, and you're immediately going to get better.
And I think just by doing that by default, you then are hitting shots that's playing for your partner, which is another big line that Roy Emerson says. I mean, you said exactly like Roy Emerson says, you play doubles for your partner. And so especially us as amateur players, if we're just going by that rule of keeping in the singles court, we're not making our doubles partner have to guess where to be on the court the next time. You're shrinking the options down, right?
Correct. Yes. And yeah, no, absolutely. You definitely want to play for your partner, not for yourself. There's a very interesting statistic that I want to talk about because, I get this like, well, the pro players are playing one up, one back because, so the amateurs should play one up, one back. The pros are doing that because the ground strokes are so forceful that they're overpowering the volleyers. But here's what's really interesting. From the 2015 Australian Open, doubles, men's and women's, second round to finals, of all the points that were played, 60% of the points ended in an error. Okay, so this qualifies my statement that tennis is a game of errors, right? I think I already said that once. But tennis is a game of errors. When you're playing tennis or when you're playing doubles specifically, you're not trying to win points. You're trying to force your opponent into losing the point or missing the shot. So it's a different mindset of I'm trying to win as opposed to I'm going to try to force my opponent to lose. So the 60% points were errors. Of the 40% points that were winners, only 3% were won by the person in the baseline. So the other 37% were won by the person at the net. So don't be fooled into thinking that playing tennis from the baseline works because it does not even work on tour. Only 3% of the points on tour are being won by the person at the net. So the baseliner is becoming the setter for the net person, and it's still all happening at the net. So we got to get our players to the net. That's the bottom line.
That is great stuff. We have a great question that before it goes away and I can't read it anymore, I want to ask you. So we have a question that says, Gigi, do you have any advice for a team playing a clearly stronger opponent? And one thing before you answer, that I remember one time when we talked, I think in our interview, you said, you believe that if you were given enough time to really analyze your opponents, there's always a way to win the match.
Oh, somebody always has a solution. Yeah, there's always a solution to someone. So first of all, to answer that question, there's 3 match situations that you ever face. You're better than your opponent, you're worse than your opponent, and you're even with your opponent. When you're better than your opponent, then you don't take chances. You just play steady tennis. You just get just play basic steady tennis. Don't go do anything crazy. You don't try low percentage shots. If you're worse than your opponent, however, which is the question, you have to go all out. You have to go for your first serves, maybe hit a little bit harder on your second serve than you normally would. You have to understand that the pressure's not on you, the pressure's on them, but you have to just pedal to the metal. I mean, you have to maybe serve volley more than you normally would. I try to be more aggressive than you normally would, because if you played your normal game, you're going to lose if they're better, right? And then the other situation is you're even with your opponent, which is the one you get most often. And then in this case, what I like players is to not take chances on the big points because it is a game of errors and it's going to end in an error. We don't want us being the one making an error. So, and then I define the big points as the first point of the game for recreational players. And I say that because a lot of times the changeovers are social. People talk to each other in the changeovers. The first time I played a 5-0 match and somebody talked to me in the changeovers, I was like, what are you doing talking to me? Don't talk to me. But, either you talk to each other or your mind wanders into, I got to pick up the kids or I got my husband or whatever it is. So you lose your concentration a little bit and not ready to play the first point. Then the fourth point of the game, which is the 30-15, 15-30 love, 40-40 love. It's also a point that you want to play cautiously and not, play not to lose, right? Play that point not aggressively, right? And then the last one, of course, is game point. Anytime there's a game point, that's a big point. So these 3 points in the game, you want to play without taking chances. Play steady and try not to be the one on the match that or in the team that made the mistake.
That's good stuff. I can't help but laugh when you're playing a 5-0 match. Don't talk to me. What are you doing?
I know.
Can you imagine how horrifying that was for the poor partner?
Well, no. That's what I thought. I didn't tell him that, but that's what I thought. I was like, oh my God, this person's actually talking to me.
That is pretty funny. Hey, so here's another great question coming from Susan Ferguson. She says she's 3.5. She's 73 years old. Before I even ask the question, hey guys, how awesome is this? Comment below how awesome this is hanging out with Gigi. What are you guys thinking about this tonight? This is incredible. So she wants to know, Gigi, I don't go back like I used to. How can I cover the lob at 73 years old, 3.5 player? What do I do?
Yeah, so part of covering lobs is understanding who's responsible for the lob. So I teach staggering. When you stagger, one person slightly in front of the other. So if the ball's in your half, you're in front and your partner's behind you. So the first thing I would ask, who asked that question?
Susan Ferguson.
Susan. So the first thing I would make sure is that Susan is not moving too far into the court or into the inside the service line when the ball is cross court from her. Because the hardest the cross court lob has 6 more feet to hit into the down the line lob. So you always want to protect the cross court lob. So whoever's cross court from the ball always has to hang back a little bit more. And so that would be my first suspicion, is that she's closing or getting too close to the net when she's cross court.
Very cool. There's lots of people saying great stuff. Dave Tom says great stuff. Mercedes 1717 Mercedes, that's a cool little username, says blessed. Henry says tips are great, taking mental notes. Tom says fantastic. By the way, taking mental notes, just so you know, we are going to put up how you can get lifetime access to TennisCon, because this video you're watching right now, if you like it, it's going to be up for 48 hours, but we're taking it down just like everything. And so you can get lifetime access to this video as well. So you don't want to miss anything, because this is a lot. As you can see, every video with TennisCon is kind of like this, where there's just so many great tips flying out of these awesome instructors and players' mouths. So it's really, really cool stuff. I want to get into poaching, and then I want to get into your 30-day, we can kind of call it a challenge or training that you're going to give away and what they're going to learn.
Okay.
Yeah. So poaching, can you give us, I don't know how many tips you have. Is it 3? Is it 5? What are the how do you start to really read and know when it's time to go and get to the ball the fastest and not make a fool out of yourself? Like what's the trick?
Okay. So first of all, with poaching, what's important to understand is how we move at the net so we can successfully poach. And the problem that I have is that most players, they move side to side to the ball. So they're standing in their position and they go sideways to try to get the ball. Sometimes they'll move diagonal, but really you want to move in a J. So you want to move forward towards the net, and then you want to do your little turn into the net, especially for the higher levels. Because if you're playing in the high levels, as soon as you turn, if your opponent sees you, they're going to go behind you. So at the point that when you initiate your poach is when the opponent has started into the forward momentum of the ball. But it's really a physics problem, right? Because the ball is moving at a certain velocity, and then you have to move yourself to that ball at a certain velocity. So how fast are you, and how fast is that ball moving? So sometimes when we get older, it's not really possible to poach because the ball is moving faster than we're able to get to it. So I actually like planned switches. I sometimes will coach players to talk to each other or give each other numbers behind their back. Like the person at the net will tell the person in the baseline will get a 2 or a 3. And that just means that on that number shot that the opponent hits, they switch. And when you're switching, you don't have to time it perfectly because your partner's covering behind you. So if you don't get it, if you go too soon and they go behind you, your partner should be able to get it. But what happens a lot of times is the players on the other side see the movement and they just mess it up. They just miss the ball. But so how we move at the net is really in a triangle. And I think one of the lessons that you and I covered, we talk about poaching, how we move in a triangle. We move from the center of the box towards the center strap for the poach. And then if we don't poach, we have to back up almost all the way back to the service line. And then on the service line, we hold our position while our opponent is potentially poaching. And if they don't poach, then we have to move back up. So it's a lot of movement, and it's how the pros move when they're in the 1-up 1-back formation, and how, if you are stuck in the 1-up 1-back formation, how you can also move for effective poaching. So that's pretty much, that's a lot of information, and I hope it's digested.
Well, you just gave me the tip. The whole thing was worth it for me, just on the whole idea of these planned. I mean, we've all talked about, hey, let's have a planned poach. That's nothing new. But the idea of second or third shot, That's really good. I've never heard of that before, and I really, really like that.
Yeah, it's very effective. Yeah. Yeah.
And that way, now all of a sudden they're thinking, wow, this team's so complex. They're such great movers, and it's such a simple idea.
And also it can get you into your most comfortable position, right? So if you're playing on the outside and you don't serve volley, but your backing is not very good, you can tell your partner, okay, on this, don't do it on the serve, but on the second ball, switch, or the third, whatever number it is, and then you can go to your forehand and hit down the line and put your partner on the outside with the forehand volley poach. So yeah, there's all different kinds of ways. And this is the kind of things that Susan can do. Was it Susan that was playing against the better? No, Susan was the lobber. Whoever was asking how to beat the better opponents. These are all kind of things that you have to do if you're playing somebody that's better than you. You have to really mix it up and be creative and do all kind of disruptive. You have to be disruptive. If you play normal doubles against a better team, you're not going to win. You have to be disruptive.
That is really good. And I love the also that triangle drill with the volley. By the way, I went out and did the drill, Gigi. Did you see it? Did you like my volley?
Yeah,
Is my volley good?
I saw it.
She's like, I saw it. It's okay.
I saw it. No, I don't know if I saw it, actually. I think I might have. I don't know if I saw it. You guys send it to me again. I'll
send it to you again. But that's kind of funny. I played one match here at Tennis Fantasies, and a couple days before, Rod Laver saw my serve, and he says, "Do you always serve like that?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I wouldn't change a thing." And I thought, "Oh my God, my whole year is made." And then I played a match, and I was extremely nervous. I won the match, but I didn't know what to say to Rod. He's walking up, and I'm just trying to make small talk. And I said, "Hey, Rod, what did you think of my match?" And here it's just a bunch of smack talk. And Rod goes, "Well, I didn't think much."
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
So tell Vicky that I'll let her know. Tell Vicky, or Vicky, if you're listening, I'll let you know. She just texted me. She wants to come to my camp, and
yeah, that's great. So guys, I just put, before it runs away, I just put a comment down with a post. So, if you're loving this, support TennisCon and click the link I've just put in there. That will support TennisCon, and that will give you lifetime access to this as well. Gigi, I want to get into your training that you're going to be giving away tonight, 100% free. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I'm giving everybody that signs up the first step of the Gigi method, which is a positioning step. There's 13 videos related to positioning on the front court, the back court. We'll also cover the responsibilities of the 4 positions of the court: the service partners, the returner, the returner's partners. And then, so you can watch that all at once. And then for the next 4 weeks, you'll have access to the Gigi Method Classroom. The Gigi Method Classroom is a year-long subscription program that covers not just the Gigi Method, but really everything I know about doubles is in there. And every week you get an email with 3 or 4 or 5 pieces of content that include videos, practice drills, player analysis from the WTA ATP Tour, a lot of mental articles that I've written. I've written over 100 articles on double subjects. So I share those. And so that's 4 weeks of free stuff. So hopefully people take me up on that one.
Well, you'd have to be crazy not to. I'm going to put the link in there again. One more. I just put it in, but I just want to make sure people are seeing it. I don't want you guys to miss out on this. This is free training from a 17-time Grand Slam champion. I mean, Hall of Famer, 2-time Olympic gold medalist. It's just fantastic. Thank you so much for putting this up for everybody. And thank you so much for, what you've done for TennisCon. Can you tell everybody a little bit of what we talked about in our interview that we did?
We talked about the ways to play younger. So we did, I went through every position of the court: servers partners, returners partners, and the mental game. And I gave on each position 3 or 4 tips on how to play like you're 10 years younger. So so hopefully those tips will help. I think some of the things we've covered today, but they're a lot more detailed, and we have video actually embedded in there. So so yeah. And by the way, I want to say, Peter, you do a great job. I'm pretty impressed, actually.
Well, thank you so much. That means a lot. That means a lot. It really, really does. I really did grow up watching you. I hope this doesn't offend you. but I had a little tiny crush on her. Yes,
You had to say that.
I had to. I couldn't help. I was saying, am I going to tell her? Am I not going to tell her? Be offended? I did. I just did.
That's all right.
So
That's cool. We're good.
It's a great honor. So
it's all good.
Anyway, we put the TennisCon sales link up there too. If you want to get lifetime access to this video and Gigi's video. It was a great time interviewing you tonight. We're going to have a big day tomorrow out at the ranch to where we're going to be filming people playing their matches. We're going to be interviewing people. We're going to try and get some legend interviews. Like as we were talking, Gigi, Luke Jensen came up and gave me a little fist pound.
Oh, hi, Luke.
Yeah. So, you know, Luke, I'm sure will do great stuff on camera. And part of not only the cool thing about TennisCon this year, guys, is when you sign up, not only are you getting lifetime access to all the videos that we've done and all the material that we're going to shoot out here at the ranch, we're also going to do a 30-day challenge together. I'm calling it the No Man, No Woman Left Behind Challenge, to where one of my pet peeves as an online instructor is that people sign up for a course and then they let it collect internet dust. And so I'm going to be going through all the drills. So I'm going to go through like Gigi's lesson, and I've already done that one drill, which I had a lot of fun doing it, the poaching drill. And I'm going to go and do those with you guys, and you guys can ask questions to me. You can send in your own videos. I can analyze it. I think Gigi has even agreed to where you will help us a little bit on that 30-day challenge.
Sure. What do you want me to do?
Well,
I'll do anything you want.
Okay, we'll just
so easy.
We'll just come on for like an interview and maybe answer questions, or you can maybe watch the work I did with your drills and you could tell me if I'm doing them right. Like that's one thing that I also notice when I meet people that I'm training. You know, I make courses and people will do the courses, then I meet them in person. I'm like, well, that tip that I made, you're not really interpreting it right. You're not doing it right. So maybe you can look at me and go, Pete, you've got it all wrong. So that might be a fun thing to do.
Spots in the triangle were in the wrong place.
Exactly. Yeah. So that will be fun to do. So tomorrow we got kick-ass serving over 50. We're going to have Rick Macy. He's going to be working with one of the players. Her name's Bella, and she is amazing. She's 12 years old, and Rick says she has the best footwork, the best serve, and the best attitude he's ever coached. He's coached the Williams sisters and Andy Roddick and Maria Sharapova. Do you have any experience with Rick, Gigi?
Yeah, I mean, I know Rick pretty well, but I always find it interesting when coaches say that, because they say that a lot. Especially guys like, you know, Rick and also Nick. He'll always say, "Oh, I just met somebody who is better than Korniakova at 7." I'm like, you cannot predict the future. No one can, right?
That's a good point.
And at 12, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed if you're good at 12. Let's see. We'll see what happens when you're 17 or 18, and then we'll decide if she was the best one.
That's a good point. But if you watch the video, you would be impressed. She really is a sweet kid and works really, really hard. And it's a good video. Cool. And so we got a lot of good stuff happening tomorrow. Gigi, is there anything you'd like? Because I know it's 8:43. It's getting to all our bedtimes. Is there anything you'd like to tell? As we sign off here tonight.
I was interested in what you just said about what you call it, internet dust, the programs for like the internet dust. Yeah, I mean, I think the way to approach these online programs is really set the time aside, like you're going to your lesson. You have a lesson from 9 to 10 with your local pro on Mondays or whenever it is, and you have to sit there for an hour and do the lesson. So do the same thing with your online program. Say on Tuesdays at 10:30 or 11:30 is my time to watch tennis videos. And watch them, because there's so much, not just me, but there's so many great coaches out there giving such great information, and what a great way to learn. I mean, we did not have this when I was growing up. I wish we had, because I grew up in Puerto Rico where in the 70s the coaches would not teach topspin to girls. So I learned my beginnings of my tennis playing days was a slice forehand and a slice backhand. So for people who don't have access to great coaches, they're online, and a lot of us, like I do virtual volley lessons. So if you don't know if your volley is good or bad, send me your volley on video and I will tell you what you need to work on. I have 10 different ways that I different things that I look at in someone's volley. And I'm not trying to sell people on stuff. I'm just wanting them to really encouraging them to go online and watch all these great videos that are out there.
Yeah, it is interesting, the power of online coaching. There was one guy I met up in Maine who followed my stuff online, and he said he was really good. He was definitely getting up to like a 4 or 5 level. And I said, wow, you have such nice strokes. And I was just super impressed. I said, do you take a lot of lessons? He said, I've never had one lesson on the court. It's all from watching online instruction. We had another guy in our Cincinnati Master Class clinic. Again, he had very, very, very beautiful strokes. And he said, I've only watched online instruction.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you want to do is grab your iPhone and get a little tripod and record yourself and get Coach's Eye or one of these apps that you can watch in slow motion and really look at your strokes and compare them to what stroke you want it to look like. And not Roger Federer, right? Everybody's going to want to look like Roger, but something realistic, right? So I don't know, maybe the best 5-0 on that, or whatever. I mean, just look at the technical flaws that your stroke has and pick 1 or 2 things and slowly work on them. But yeah, definitely with online instruction is such a valuable, helpful tool for people that, I hated that it's collecting dust. We can't have that.
No, we can't have that. And we just had Diego said he's going to join. We just had Ron said he just signed up. We just had an MD, but I can't pronounce your name. Gauri. Can you help me with that, Gigi? How would you pronounce that?
Gauri.
She's like
Gaudi. Is it Spanish?
Gaudi? I don't know, but I'm sorry. I'm terrible with names. But thank you so much, guys. And this was a lot of fun. This video will be up for 48 hours. Watch it a couple of times. Share it with your friends. Definitely check in tomorrow at Actually, you know what? We're probably going to go live. One thing that's cool here, Gigi, is they do a lesson in the morning around 8 o'clock. Lots of times Roy Emerson's out there teaching the lesson. Roy says you should never miss a return of serve. That's his thing. So
yeah, I like that.
Roy,
so I take that one step further and I say you should never miss a return of serve into the net, because your first goal should be get it over the net, because recreational players hit countless balls that are going to hit the fence, that are going out, that are going wide, they're going deep. So just get it over the net and give an opponent a chance to miss it.
Yeah, that's interesting. One quick point before we sign off. You have said you feel like when the ball touches your strings, you should never miss. Rick Leach, who's out here at the Tennis Fantasy Camp, he also said the same thing. He's like, if the ball touches my racket, I just feel like I should never miss. Roy Emerson feels like you should never miss a shot. So I think that's one thing that pros have in common. They feel like, hey, if the ball's to me, there's no way I should ever miss. Would you say it's a unique mindset that you all have?
Well, I mean, but we also have a million hours of practice, right? So actually, you cannot be a top player if you don't feel that way. If you can actually follow through on it and actually play a whole match and never miss. I mean, like I said, I would play entire matches and not miss one return, or play entire matches and not miss one volley. So it can be done. I mean, you have to be in the zone. I mean, you are going to miss, but it can happen when you have like the best. It's possible to play the best match of your life every time you go out there, and that's what we're all striving for. Of course, it doesn't always happen, but that's what you strive for.
I have to read this. Giovanna said, a life dream come true. When I was a little girl growing up in Puerto Rico, I fell in love with tennis watching Gigi. Gigi, come to Austin, Texas. Our 3-5-4-0 team just came back from nationals with fourth. Pretty cool.
Oh, I'll come to Austin. I actually travel around the country and work with players at different. I mean, I have 7 camps in November, so this is what I do. I also invite USDA teams to Innisbrook here in very close to where I live in Tampa, about 20 minutes away. So, and I do camps here. I accept anybody who wants to come. So tell Giovanna to send me an email, and Gigi at Gigi Fernandez Tennis, or it comes right to me, and I'm very receptive to emails. And I'm, it's my business now, and it's what I do. I'm trying to teach players, try to help them get better, and I'm usually online. If I'm not online on the chat bot in my website, I'm on the court or dealing with my kids. So if I'm in my computer, I'm there and I chat with anybody who I answer any questions that anybody has. So I'm happy to help.
Very cool. Yeah, guys, definitely look into Gigi's camps. Can you just walk us through what it's like to go to one of your camps? Like, how does it start? What do you all do?
Yeah.
What's the Gigi method experience like in person?
Yeah. So on a 3-day camp, which is what I typically have here, people will arrive on a Wednesday. And we start about 3, and we have like a 2-hour hitting session. And usually this is an evaluation. And I'm just what the purpose of this first hit is for people to get to know each other and for me to see how they're playing. I don't really cover much the first day. I'm just basically trying to create a good energy within the group. Then first thing on the second day in the morning, we start at 8 o'clock and I present the first 2 steps of the Gigi method, positioning, court coverage, and then I also cover shot selection. And then we go out on the court and we work on, for 2.5 hours or 3 hours, we work on positioning, court coverage, and shot selection drills. Then we come back, have lunch. At lunch, I present the serve and return strategies, the 4th and 5th steps of the Gigi method. And then we go out and drill for another couple hours on different serve, how I think people should practice their serve, which I call progressive target practice. We work on returns. And then, so that's day 1. Everybody's pretty tired at the end of that. Oh, and I forgot, on the first day, we all have dinner. We go to a nice restaurant and all have a nice meal and get to know each other a little bit better. Then on the 3rd day in the morning, I present the competition step and the mental game, like keys to mental toughness. And then we, in the morning, we do drills we work on shot selection from the different formations, 2 up, 2 back, 1 up, 1 back. So we go through all those for about another 3 hours. At this point, everybody's pretty tired. We have a nice lunch, and then we finish by doing some match play. So I do this quite a bit here in Tampa. I have 2 in February, 1 sold out, but I still have another 1 in February, and then 2 more in April that I'm doing next year. And then if it's a team, we go to Innsbruck. If it's more than 8 people on one team, we go to Innsbruck because it's a more cozy environment. Everybody stays in their villas, and we have a good time over there.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Everybody, if you can, go train with Gigi. This was really great. What I'm going to do just to sign us off is I'm going to put both links back to back. I'm going to put Gigi's free training link right here. So this is Gigi's free training. And then I'm going to put how you can get lifetime access to TennisCon and the 30-day challenge. And, as I'm putting this here, Gigi, I just thought of something, because we're like, what will we talk about? There are so many questions flying in. Guys, I thank you for your questions. We got to answer some tonight, but there's a lot of questions we didn't answer. I do apologize for that. I know it's getting to 9. I have a lot of things to do behind the scenes to get ready for tomorrow. And I know Gigi needs to go to sleep. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in the 30-day challenge, I'm going to collect a lot of these questions I saw and find some good ones. And we will, maybe we can do that together, Gigi. That might be fun to do.
Sure.
So thank you so much, guys. Everybody say good night to Gigi. Gigi, thank you. You are great.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Nice hanging out. Bye.